Well, ladies and gentlemen, my learned friends, it seems odd that this meeting is not being chaired by the President of the Bar. It is certainly not odd that I've been asked by general acclamation to chair this meeting as doyen of the Bar, as former President of the Gambia Bar Association, as former Vice Chairman of the African Commission of Human Rights, as chairman of so many other companies and organizations. And I tell you, I have never refused an invitation from this bar to chair the meeting. I think that's enough to prove the legitimacy of my appointment as chairman by general acclamation. But if there is still any objection, please, may I get it? Okay?
There is no objection.
I do not object. This may sound like formality. They are quite important. Good. Now that those issues have been done, we come to the meeting briefing. I've been told, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that there is one central issue to be discussed at this meeting, and it is the appointment of Honorable Justice Wowo as the Chief Justice of the Gambia. Well, straight away, I'll say that I have not seen anything official concerning the appointment, but it seems to be the general knowledge that Justice Wowo has appointed as Chief Justice of the Gambia, although not yet sworn, as is required by the Constitution. Some anticipate this swearing will take place early next week. As I said, there is nothing official. So they are all acting on assumption, I believe, unless somebody produces something in writing. Now, I wish to say something. Maybe that will be the basis of discussion. As far as I'm concerned, there are two elements to this discussion. From what I've heard since I came to this hall before the commencement of this meeting. One is that Justice Wowo ought not to be appointed as Chief Justice on nationalist grounds. Nationalist grounds. And I'll expand on that. And secondly, there is this issue of what has been called, as a quote-unquote, competencies. Now, I will say this, that as far as nationalist grounds are concerned, I myself, personally, have written a long time ago, long before Justice Wowo was appointed Chief Justice. It was, in fact, at the time, Justice Ajim was not even here. I wrote publicly that it is a disgrace that all over Africa, particularly in West Africa, you have nationals of each country being their chief justice, and in the Gambia, we did not have a chief justice. In fact, that was before Savage was appointed. So it has always been my view, and it remains my view, that the proper thing in every country, including the Gambia, is to have a national of that country being the chief justice of the country. That is what I mean by nationalist example. Now, on the second issue, which people say is competence, I have serious reservation as to whether that could stand. Of course, it is subject to discussion. The reason is this, that we have called an emergency meeting. In other words, it's been assumed that President Wowo was appointed yesterday. And today, we are here, and some people believe that an item of the meeting should be competence. That is why I say it cannot, to my mind, stand. So that I do not see how anybody could have prepared any paper, document, or brief, or whatever, listing out the reasons, correct reasons, backed up by evidence as to the incompetence or competence of Justice Wowo. And there I stop. The debate may start. So, no, you talk first.
Yeah, I think I should really talk after the opening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, I would like to immediately, and I want everyone to see me when I'm talking from the event, to immediately say this is not a situation where it should be taken personal for any one of us. We, the executive, found that this is something important for the judiciary and for the legal profession in this country. It has been made clear to us that as the President of the Court of Appeals, Justice Wowo behaved in a manner which is not professional. Whether it was in your favor, as lawyers here today, or whether it was against you. I have been subjected personally, and I do not want my personal views to be brought to the forum, but that is the fact. I do not believe that although we take cue from our seniors when it comes to doing what is right and how we approach things, our concern in the executive is whether or not it's our cases or not, truly Justice Wowo behaved in manners we should not have for any judge. If it's a Gambian judge, we will say it. If it's a foreign judge, we will say it. I have been in his courts, my clients have spoken about the circus that was going on in the Court of Appeal. The comments that were made, the costs that were being awarded, so I don't want this to be, it's because of my client Ami Bensouda, that is why this meeting was called. It has nothing to do with that. And if Mr. Jani is asking about competence, there is evidence of this breach of professional ethics, which we have, which I have, and for those reasons, I have been sworn to uphold my ethics, and I do not think Justice Wowo, I can look up to him. I do not want to go into court, win and lose my cases based on the relationship I have with him, or any judge. I am courteous to all the judges, I think everybody can say that. I have never been disrespectful. But I do not want to practice in this country in if I am winning and losing cases because of who I am. By way of introduction, that's all I wanted to say. That maybe we cannot prove everything, but each and every lawyer has had some sort of experience or evidence, because I know clients have evidence. So let's not make this personal. If I was in any jurisdiction in this world and any judge behaved in this manner, I would also voice it out. This is not personal. This is not because he is Nigerian. I think before I came to this country, there were so many foreign judges here. And it's only very recent that Gambians have been sitting on the bench. Throughout my career here, it's been foreigners and objections were not raised within the judicial experience. So this is not about Nigerians or Gambians.
Mr. Vivek.
He's an American.
I get the impression that the president of the bar was talking from our own personal point of view. If that is the case, I find it a bit unusual, especially in view of the fact that the executive of the bar met yesterday, I assume, on this issue, and apparently no position was taken with regard to their responsibility to take a lead in matters that affect the bar. I don't think this is a personal issue, in a sense different from what the president of the bar was saying. And if, as the president of the bar said, there are unethical behavior on the part of the judge, then my thinking is action would have been taken officially to the Chief Justice or to the Judicial Service Commission. I wonder whether there is some action was taken. Otherwise, it just becomes a personal point of view, which might or might not be correct. But I raised my hand to intervene because when I heard about Justice Wowo's appointment, I thought this appointment had a third issue to it, which I consider to be important. Because prior to that, I had read that he is possibly a witness in a prosecution. Now, so far, the allegations in those counts in which he is concerned have not been proven. So I was assuming that at least the case will come to a conclusion before we are presented with an appointment of Justice Wowo, who we all know left this jurisdiction in circumstances, according to the press, which we are not normal circumstances for any Chief Justice or acting Chief Justice. So that really I consider that aspect of it to be much more important. Somebody who was actually arraigned, and then I suppose a nominal prosecutor was entered, the person left, comes back, makes certain allegations against certain officials. Those officials are being prosecuted. And we assume that for those allegations to stick, he might have to give evidence. And that wasn't submitted in the chief process. It's a bit confusing. I think that aspect of it also needs to be looked at.
Is that all? Yes. Mr. Ajit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well, I think in your opening speech you have said that we don't have any official communication. I want to presume that the executive of the bar would have had an official communication as to the appointment of a Chief Justice of the Gambia, considering the importance of that office to our profession. So that brings a question in mind. The fundamental wisdom of this particular meeting. Then, secondly, Mr. Abite touched on the circumstance under which Justice Wowo left the country and came back and made certain accusations. Well, the fact that I have, if my memory serves me right, is that certain accusations were already made before I learned he was in the country. So the question still remains whether he is the one who made those accusations or those accusations came from somewhere else. What I am advising here is that things are too vague now for us to be very specific. It will serve us well if we wait for the right time before we make definite statements. That is my take on the matter.
Sorry, I am of the expectation that the issue of Justice Wowo should not be the only thing that should be in our agenda. We have Jobati, we have Bahari. These are people of vital importance to us. It's been of my own expectation that we should include their own issue in the agenda so that we deliberate on the way out. How is the bar going to help them? How do we help them out? We should not just because they are in my two abandon them to their own fate and then relegate them to the archive without attaching importance to their own well-being and what the bar is to do in a bid to ameliorate their own suffering. They are human beings. They were members of the bar, or they are still members of the bar. We should also include them and finalize their own issue as well. I've heard what Mr. Achigwe said over Justice Wowo's purported appointment. I listened to the radio yesterday when I heard of it. Nobody can say for certain that Justice Wowo has been appointed. If anybody has firmly spoken or has spoken with firmness to the fact that Justice Wowo has been appointed, then we move forward. Yes.
You have to understand, it's not a small matter that we're dealing with.
Yes.
Because our very colleagues who are in Mile 2 are put in Mile 2 with charges that relate to Justice Wowo. So his now, Justice Raymond has been asked to hand over to him the office of the Chief Justice. Whether it's in writing or not, it's been done. That's a fact.
To hand over to Justice Wowo.
Yes, and he's already done so, and he's gone. Now,
No,
our colleagues.
I can speak with certainty that Justice, what do you call it? Sop did not hand over to Wowo.
When he left the office.
He may have left the office, but I am speaking with certainty that he has not handed over to Wowo. He has not handed over to Wowo. You see, why, Mr. Siso, please let me.
Let's listen.
One meeting, because one person speaks to the end before the person interrupts. But as you stay there the whole day,
Please.
honestly, that was there, professionals.
Yeah, why I'm saying this is.
So Luca was speaking before you interrupted her.
No, I was. You are just entering,
I'm
madam.
the chairman of this.
You are just entering.
All right.
That's
Please.
what I found.
You,
Now,
all right.
why
You carry on.
yes, why I'm saying, or why I've said what I said, is I remember when Moses Richard had problem, the bar resorted to aggressive measure. The day Moses was convicted, everybody went to their house. Only Moses was taken to my two. That was the much the bar did. Now, if there is a problem or an issue, I am from Nigeria. I know lawyers do have problems in Nigeria. The bar resort to amelioratory measures. This is why I say I have gone through I heard about the charge sheet and I felt bad. Even today I discussed with Mr. Mena that we are going to my two. See Joba today. I have been of the expectation that the bar should discuss how do we ameliorate this problem. How is the bar to discuss on this issue so that things will be calmed down? So that things will be calmed down.
You've said that before.
Yes. Now, because from what I'm seeing, what we have here is Justice Wowo's issue, his appointment, and it may not help those presently in my two. That is all I have to say.
So what I was
Allow. President.
coming to was why Justice Wowo's issue is important. Is that if he's occupying the space of the Chief Justice, bail applications are going to that office for the charges that relate exactly to him. That is my issue. That I am not saying any one of us is above the law. We can all be investigated. But we're being investigated, prosecuted, witnesses, jury, everything by the same person. Is he fit to be in that office? And in any event, this is Gambia. We don't need it to be officially written anywhere. We are just trying to find a solution of how to save this judiciary from getting worse. This has never happened. Attorney General, Solicitor General picked up, sent off on what? Evidence from a person who's now occupying that spot, who was actually charged himself. It's just a circus right now that we need to either join hands, find a solution, or if that's not possible, then break it off when we say that there's no harm.
I think my issue is whether he is appointed or not should not be even an issue. Even if he was not appointed and we've heard that there's the issue that he may be appointed, we can still act at that point. We don't have to wait until it is too late to then start taking action. You know, at the end of the day, the issue is he fit to be the Chief Justice or not? If he is not fit, then we should act now and not wait. You know, and I think from what everyone has said, everyone knows what is on the ground and the reality. If people want to take sides because they want to take sides, for personal gains, that's their own decision. But I think if people are looking at the reality of things, I think looking at other things will dilute the issue. The issue here should be about Wowo and whether he should be. we are doing everything. The bar and executive have been taking action in relation to Jobate and Bahari. All those actions have been taken, and we are doing everything on that. The issue here is about whether Wowo is fit to be, and we should be. We will never abandon them. So the issue is now, is he fit or not? And I think this is what we should stick to and resolve here.
Yes.
Thank you. To address what Mr. Duque was saying, there was an executive meeting, and the issue you raised was discussed. Several matters were discussed. And finally, the resolution was that before the executive can take certain actions, especially in this regard, the general body should be consulted. On the issue of Jobate and Bahari, it is recorded that the executive met several times from the day they were arrested. In fact, the executive went in and met them, and it is at per their own request that certain steps, radical steps, as in the case of Muslim Church, were not taken. The executive has written to the authorities, and that is also recorded. They were held over 72 hours. That is where the mandate of the bar kicks in. We tried to address that issue. Short of storming the NIA, there's not much we can do. They have now been taken, they have now been arraigned, and they have been charged. Now, it is not the job of the Bar Association to enter legal representation, no matter how strongly we feel about the charges. The Bar has arranged pro bono for a lawyer to represent Bahari. Jobate has his own lawyers. I think the Bar has done what they can on those issues. And Manyema as well. The Bar has arranged for a pro bono for a lawyer to represent that. That is the mandate of the Bar. So far as those issues are concerned, they have been addressed. If members want records of what the executive has done, that can be provided. The issue here today is whether Mrs. Wowo is fit to be a fit and proper person to be Chief Justice, and what steps the Bar are going to take. If we believe he is a fit and proper person, so be it. Whether the reports are confirmed, it is true, he has not yet officially been given that position. So to some extent there is an assumption. But a reliable member of the Bar made the first report that Raymond Sok, Justice, was handing over to Justice Wowo, and the NIA were there when he was handing over. A senior person in the judiciary confirmed to the executive of the Bar Association that Justice Wowo is now the Chief Justice. These are serious reports and cannot be ignored. When members found out, they called the executive to state their position, to state their complaints, and it is evident to the executive that members feel strongly about this appointment. It is our duty to you to call you to a meeting and to decide what is to be done. It is good for everyone's views to be heard, but I believe, with respect, let us stop arguing over technicalities or bringing issues that will cloud the main issue. We don't have an appointment letter, we don't have an announcement. We cannot say to 100% that he has been appointed, are we against or are we for? But the issue now is, are we against or are we for? And if he is appointed, what we should do, or before he is appointed, what we should do. Thank you. That is all I have to say.
I think that has been clarified now. That matter. And the other matter, that is the introduction of new items to the agenda, that also has very been dealt with. A new item being the discussion concerning Jobate and Jam. So we will do that now to the main issue in the agenda. And may I hear your views on the main issue?
Thank you very much, Jefferson. I want to start by endorsing the views expressed by Mr. President. And we also bear witness and testimony to the fact that all the offices that you said you occupied are offices you occupied, because I work with the use of justice. And I can attest to our professionalism and integrity in that qualification. In addition to Chief Justice Wowo, I was Solicitor General witness working in this country from Nigeria. I think the view is being carried right now that Gambia is a committee of it, and I beg respect it. But I remember very well when we were in the office, when I joined the ladies' chambers, in addition to the patients that has highlighted in the judicial, the director of the constitution at the time was a Nigerian, Mr. Omaneko. In fact, I was so close that man, everybody used to tease me that he's your husband. But it was just the relationship I had with him, because we were very close. So Gambians are not xenophobic. If we were xenophobic, we would not still here today dealing with this issue, really. Because it is our friendliness and our welcoming that I think that has come up with the situation that we are in today. So for that comment to be made, I think it's a wrong comment. And what is not right is not right. It's not a question of what has happened in Nigeria. It's a fact, even Nigerians, well-intentioned Nigerians and me, have actually asked questions about what is going on in the Gambia. Why are you allowing this to be in the Gambia? So it's not a question of personal issues and taking side. It's a question of either do the right thing or continue to take sides as the president and being killed one after the other. If we take this attitude that doesn't affect me, I'm not bothered, then I'm questioning. With regard to the consultants, I am particularly concerned because I know a lot of consultants. And when this incident was picked up, I was overseas outside of the country. And when I learned about it, I was very worried. Because I have consulted far and wide. I said this is the best, I think that's the follow that you have to some of my consultants. Not only the division, I've had the same experience, the same work that you have done, similar someone sent my staff in and been doing good. And some of these things are things that, I mean, when you say World Bank, it's like World Bank outside. Some of these things are things that are actually agreed with government. If no any consultant is done in this country, government would have made a framework agreement, and those issues would have been agreed to. So for somebody to be doing research or consulting, it won't be a clandestine activity as being the expert. It is something agreed with the government of the Gambia and any other agency for any country. I am particularly concerned that if because of consultants and research consultation where we are today, then I think I should be very wrong. Because it just takes one mischievous person, ill intention, to take me to the same way. I am particularly concerned. I mean, I don't know what happens in Nigeria, but in the Gambia, when we have to stay there, when it rains, doesn't fall on only one of all of us. And when something bad happens to one of us, we should all be concerned. I think this has been a tradition in the Gambia. We not be selfish, we don't be selfish, we don't be self-centered. But I want to reiterate the fact that this is not personal, it's a question of taking sides, it's a question of principle. And there is no way in the world where that is happening in that country. And like I only reiterate the fact that it doesn't matter who's occupying at a particular time. It's the office of the Attorney General, and the Solicitor General. And these people occupying these offices at very one time. Secondly, I believe that, let's assume that Mr. Wowo was mistaken in what he did. He actually believed that the investor was doing something to understand. We have General Legal Council, we have the Bar Association, we have all the structures. Why jump all those structures and go to a place where you know that they are in trouble? So it's difficult for anybody to believe that there was no mistake in intent. Because there are institutions here. We have the bar. Why was one that the bar to say, I have what's going on? We have general debtors. We're all lawyers. We know the existing institution and structures that we use. Something is going on. But if a judge in the division can take such steps, who was a colleague? What else are we doing? That's my question. What else are we doing? Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have to I agree that officially Mr. Wowo has not been appointed CDO or sworn in. And I also agree, well, from the information I have, that the handing over was not done to him physically. The former active chief justice signed the handing over notes, and I think Justice Wowo will come to sign. Whatever the case, it's not important except for the fact that officially we haven't had, we don't know that Justice Wowo has been appointed as chief justice. But in all likelihood, that would be the case. The point I want to make, Mr. Chairman, is that the bar should rewind its memory a bit. This is not the first time we have been in this situation. But I'm glad to say that our fellow Nigerian West Africans have been serving in the judiciary for a very long period of time, until very recent times that the bar had to take a position, because coincidentally and unfortunately, a Nigerian, let's not mince what about it, who came here begging for work, was given work at the AMRC, became a judge, started saying he's the most brilliant lawyer in the Gambia. He didn't stop there. Next, he said he's going to lock up Gambian lawyers. And when he did, he took the issue. Not just against him, but against the Ghanaian Chief Justice. But in spite of that, we are welcoming to our Nigerian brothers in accordance with law, if not for anything. I remember two gentlemen who are sitting here took the bar to court, and I and Ida Dame appeared on their behalf, and they joined us as members of the Gambian bar. And my brother here is the most recent example. We have not been homophobic. I don't know how to Sorry. That was a slip of No, we have not been xenophobic in any way. But when it comes to issues that affect all of us as members of the bar and the judicial system as a whole, I think we have a duty to take a stand. Very recently, it appeared as if the General Legal Counsel was being brought in a room which was at the behest of the former Chief Justice. Instead of having one High Court judge there and the number, the prescribed people who should be there, clearly categorized, we had some membership which was not in accordance with what the law prescribed. And since Justice Paul, right up to Justice Aguirre, what has been happening, whether it can be proved or is just general knowledge, is not good for the Gambian bar, and it's not good for members of the bar. Everybody knows that is not the way the judiciary should be run. I mean, it was a pleasure for somebody to go to court and even the judge reading the judgment, and you don't know whether it's going to be in your favor or not. 1 minute it goes this way, the next minute it goes the other way, until finally judgment is pronounced. But if we are honest to ourselves, whether a Gambian or a foreigner, as long as you are practicing in this country, there are times that you go to court and you know the conclusion. It's not the way the judiciary has to be wrong. We have not been used to that. And when Paul said he was going to lock up a lawyer, we knew he was prejudiced. and we do that. But from God, we have been allowing the rot to set in. And I think the idea now is to frighten us. And as Gambians, that is not acceptable. Because we are thinking of the reputation that we are going to leave to our children and the younger ones. Most of us now have children who are lawyers. And this is not the legacy that we want to give them. Whether you are Nigerian or you are Gambian, you want to leave your child, whether he is a lawyer or he is otherwise in another profession, with a system that is certain and is based on the rule of law. But we cannot have a system where you can predict the judgments a second. We should refuse that. Whether we are Gambians or Nigerians, everybody now will be left with his or her conscience on these issues. But I think we have come to a point, if I may repeat myself, that somebody who was prosecuted somehow left the country, has come back, and to all intents and purposes is going to give evidence in the case, which is connected to the reason why he was prosecuted, may be made a chief justice. I don't know whether that is something that we can stomach as human beings and as lawyers.
Mr. Zito.
Mr. Jani, this is from the level of the executive yesterday. At the level of the executive, all of us are unanimously agreed that Justice Wowo is not competent to be the Chief Justice of this country. And we have outlined 3 things we're supposed to do. One more proposal was to write to the president a petition, and I was not in favor of that, because when we wrote to the president because of the saga, the Attorney General replied to that letter. In fact, when they asked him this one, Mr. Gomez, when they go, let him not come here. Now we have to be fair. And the other proposal was to have an open letter to society. The third proposal is to boycott all the courts, especially the Supreme Court sittings coming up next week. I think the first to the 30th, because that is the resolution at the level of the executive. It's nothing personal, but we have concluded that he is not a competent person to be the Chief Justice. That was the conclusion of the executive. And these are the 3 proposals we have. Either to write to the president, or 2, to boycott the courts, or 3, to forget it. These are the only options. I think that's what we want to go for. We have concluded.
Yes. Thank you, Abdullah, for summarizing the collective vision. I also want to just give my own personal view. I would like to record that align myself 100% with this instrument. I think as a lawyer, we want to do that in practice. We can talk about all the procedural issues and the like. But fundamentally, the are functions that we must drive how our country must inform our decisions. I think when this debate was done, I don't reply. I don't have to really actually know about it. I think I have personally a good relationship with this world. I do not speak from a point of xenophobia. I grew up son of a diplomat since I was born. I grew up in a day when I don't see nationalities. I respect people for not only what they know, but what they represent. It determines the work that you do. For so many years, a good project. Before one of my closest friends in the back, not because coming to the issue of this school. I'm not a conventional. I don't really do it that much. I've never been here before. So I'm not in a position to determine these companies for all of us. But based on the overwhelming premium that we have received in the course of the years, and particularly the issue of Mrs. Ventura, which is unraveled, I think the person who has taken a step, by any stretch of imagination, it is not fit and proper to be head of the division. And I think if the bar takes any other position, we really making our responsibility and duty as lawyers. Stop thinking that we're only lawyers based on our brief. We have a much bigger the Constitution. Everything we do as lawyers is based on our conscience. And I think all of us, respecting our divergent and diverse interests, must look at the bigger good. It will not be of justice or rule of law to allow some Mr. Wowo based on facts. It's not conjecture, it's not facts, documented facts. He wrote a letter. It's not in dispute. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say his reason why they arrested, but of course he has helped in the process of this. He was arrested before he came. So he came. He didn't have to come. He has given evidence. He was still going in and out of the National Agency. I mean, and many instances. I think even at a personal level, he should advise himself. And I think those who are close to him, right, as both Muslim or Christian, should have advised him. If he does not take the advice, then you will not, at least when you go to them, say, well, I have tried to talk to him, even as a friend or as a brother. I even wanted to talk to him when I have this issue. I went to him. But I think the facts are really there for us to see. And I think we must vote on this issue. I think this is a vote of confidence of the office of the CJ. Any country in the world, you cannot be CJ if you don't have a country on top of the bar. Anywhere in the world. I don't think we have to top of the bar. I think we can make our position very, very clear. We may disagree as to how we do it. But I think we must definitely take concrete steps. And I think those three scenarios that I provide, one of them surely, or all of them together, is really set to Mr. Ronald there. Yes?
I wish to echo the sentiments of Mr. Meeting, allowing the work to set in. I think we have done that for far too long because of our selfishness and self-centeredness. We call ourselves lawyers, but if this is the way we behave, we are not lawyers. We are not. It's either we are going to do something about it, or we all go home and sleep it off. Or wait for clients to come to our chambers and get paid. But then again, we have to ask ourselves, will we still command the respect of the public? I don't think we have the respect of the public as it was about 20 years ago. We either be brave or we are cowards. Let us tell it as it is. Now, if we are of the opinion that we do not have confidence in Justice Wowo being appointed as Chief Justice, let us try to do something about it. If it doesn't work out, at least we will know in our conscience that we have tried. But what I see is each for himself or for herself. Thinking that nothing would happen. Who knows? It could happen to any one of us. Being arrested or being taken to the NIA, questioned, detained. None of us is immune to being arrested or questioned or detained. So let us stop thinking about ourselves. Let us join together, and if we're going to do something, let us see it to the end. But not halfway and we start backing up, one after the other. I cannot speak for anyone else. But what's the worst that can happen? I'm not afraid of being arrested. I'll die, if I don't die right now, I'll die later. But I'll only die once. Yes. I'm not afraid of being questioned or being tortured at NIA. If I'm being tortured, I'll probably scream. But yes. But let us be strong. Let us be brave. And if we cannot have that, then I don't see a point of an association at all. And we also have to think about what is the kind of legacy we leave behind. That's what I have to say.
Are there any more speakers?
Anyone who feels that he is competent and why?
No, I'm not going to speak. Does anybody else want to speak?
Whatever he said.
All right. Now, I want to say, now, I have no doubt that most of the members who are present are deeply interested in this issue. Perhaps those who are absent, perhaps, I think, deliberately. With those perhaps figures could be pointed as being on brave, either on brave or otherwise. But I do believe that most of those who have attended today here could be classified as genuine and brave. And I'm sure they will do what, according to their conscience, is correct and right. Now, I have benefited a lot, and I wish this had been done right from the beginning. As to the decision of the executive, I've had it just now from Mr. Simpson. He said that their proposal, I will repeat, well, one, to petition the president, two,
Signed by
all the support. Everyone signed. Exactly. Okay. Now I see the reason. Now I see the reason why it was stated in the form. Yes, in the form, because that has never happened, and I never knew what was behind it. Now I understand. Now, to write to the president, to send an open letter. Well, they said society, meaning to the public. I suppose meaning writing to the press, issuing a press release. Is that what is meant? Yes. Or three, well, and or, I don't know, whether it's and or just boycott reports. Could you clarify, is it and or just
three together?
Or the three?
Float the item.
The three could be done together, or one or two. Okay, that's what is meant. I asked to clarify on that particular point.
I think I think members, each of the will should be put to the members to decide on.
it's not the case that all men will agree on all 4 constitutions. Because we think this solution has to take it as members. But we should put each of the members and each will vote upon it and then take it back. That has been clarified. And in a moment, we will be taking the vote. But before taking a vote, I would like to say straight away that insofar as guiding the President of the Republic is concerned, since he has the power through the Judicial Service Committee to appoint or assign the Chief Justice, it is always very, 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 very prudent and proper. As I've always said, and I've always said this not only in relation to the President, I've always said that when the power is about to take serious action, it has to be seen to be serious. We all know that we are lawyers. We are classified as lawyers. And members of the public consider us as great analyzers of facts. And that we always stick to principles. Now, this is why I made this allusion to evidence. And it seems we have got part of the evidence coming from Mrs. Venturi. But of course, when you talk of competence, you don't deal with competence in relation to what I could call the subject, or one of the subject matter of the whole issue. It is Mrs. Venturi. You have to look at it globally, in a holistic manner. You have to tell the President that we don't want this guy because of A, B, C, D, E. You don't just send a letter and say, we don't want this guy. That would be the most, I don't want to use strong words, but let me just say, it won't take anybody anywhere. Because no matter what you think of the President of the Republic, he's a thinking man, and he has advisors, including legal advisors. They would have to base any decision that the President will take on reason. And if we are writing to the President, surely it must be because we want the President to take action. And I have no doubt that in an issue of this nature, the President will take no action whatsoever unless he is convinced by reasons and facts. This is where I'm going. Now, as far as the open letter to society is concerned, that's a different matter altogether. And we have precedents. It's been done before, so many times, including, as my learned friend Mr. Bide has just said, including Justice Clark. Now, with regard to the boycott of courts, it depends on numbers. Now, finally, I want to say this. Sorry. Well, I'm not even going to touch that so-called fourth quarter of doing nothing. Because that would be so disgraceful, you know. And I don't even want to talk about it. Now, but something has to be done. That's why we are here. And we've got the full debate. Everybody will take a position over the matter. So here we are. I hope I have summarized and to summarize. And with the clarification given by Cecil, as a member of the I think it is time now for us to vote on the issue.
Sorry, Mr.
Or, yes?
Sorry, Mr.
Now, let me just stop here. Or
yes.
do whatever the general meeting decides we should do. Yes, Mr.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I think we should exercise some precaution due to the fact that no official announcement has been made yet. So that when we come to a vote on all three or one of them or two of them, it should be subject to an official announcement being made.
Absolutely.
Because I make that point because this might be a very long, hard struggle. And we don't want at the end of the day for somebody to come back and say they were acting on rumors and things which we are not confirmed. I think we should avoid that type of trap.
And then, Mr. Chairman, if you may allow me, I think a comment or at least short discussion on the proposed plans of action is called for. As a general comment, as you rightly said, some of these actions have been taken before by the bar. I would just want to remind my colleagues that in the case of Paul, the action was not done in half measures or in a half-hearted way. The bar said Justice Paul's court is boycotted until further notice. I would want to contrast this with the action that was taken in the case of Moses Richards, which I regarded to be a token. I disagreed, some people disagreed with me. But to say we are abandoning the courts for 2-3 days in the interest of our clients does not show the resolve that was necessary in view of the enormity of what we were fighting for. And of course, it was ignored. 2-3 days we go back to court and prosecution concluded. And Richard was, how do you call it, convicted and sentenced. But unlike Paul's case, it became a big problem for him. Even official occasions, bar bench, we took the standard if he comes to those occasions, the bar will move out. So afterwards, he saw fit to leave it. Because our hospitality was abused, and I must say, in this instant, is being more than abused. And we should take it very, very seriously, whatever decision we take. Thank you, Mr.
We are lawyers. I think we are very crafty in sense that that's how we find a claim. So we don't know for a fact that this law has been appointed. We know that it has not been officially confirmed, but there's enough information for us to believe and assume that the case. So whatever form action we take must also be. I think we must get a resolution and decide whether or not we have confidence in him to be CJ. That would be like the sort of the omnibus fight all the time. The following point is that we vote on whether or not we think it's a fit and proper to be CJ, regardless of whether that's confirmed or not. That way we can get the vast conscience together. We all agree that this person is not fit to be seen. We're not saying they have to appoint or not. We're not going to remove all the technicalities. Otherwise, we will walk the technicalities and we're not doing anything. Then if it's appointed, then we can say, in the event that that's the case, these are the steps that we will take, and this is when we'll take it. And we'll appoint a drafting committee to prepare the letter that we will write. We'll write until we know that that's the case. Or we can even write and ask the executive if that's the case. We can ask. We can write to the executive and say we are informed that we can confirm. We can write and ask. They don't know. But in case we don't know, we have to go here. Yes. The company authority, right. But at least for now, let's have the resolution about our position.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Mrs. Bensuda has spoken at length, and I'm sure that her speech ought to attract the sympathy of every member of the bar. And I can say I really felt it when I heard what happened to her. Now, Mr. Bitte spoke on the issue of taking confrontational attitude. I am suggesting whether the bar can summon Justice Wowo. I am suggesting whether the bar can summon Justice Wowo on the issue of Mrs. Bensuda. And also whether the bar can obtain an undertaking from Justice Wowo that nothing will happen to her. You see, why I'm saying this is somebody whom we should all attach importance to her well-being. I've known Mrs. Bensuda. Here is Aziz. There had been a time when she used to command me to take Aziz to school. I would drive Aziz to school. I see myself as somebody, when Charles was working in her office, I see myself as a member of her office. And I feel free, even Aziz. I used to quarrel with Aziz. I can do anything to Aziz. Here is Aziz. I am humbly suggesting that it will be to our general interest if we can summon Justice Wowo. The bar can sit next week here and summon Justice Wowo, and we obtain an undertaking from Justice Wowo that he will work, he will do everything to see that nothing happens to Mrs. Bensuda. If it means Justice Wowo going to the president, he has to do that. We will embark on confrontational attitude. And anything can happen. That is all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman, since my name was mentioned, I think I have a right of direct reply.
Very well.
Yes. Mr. Chimeka, with due respect, this is the kind of underlying threat which we should discard permanently. Why should we ask Justice Wowo to give us assurance that nothing will happen to Mrs. Bensuda when Mrs. Bensuda has not done anything?
That is why I say
look, I don't think this unorthodox personal way of doing things is going to continue. If you say I'm advising a confrontational attitude, fine. That will not be the first time. When I was president of the bar, I stood to my guns. And if something hits me, my conscience, my interest, etc., I also stick to my guns. But this issue is not one where you blow hot here and then blow cold there. What we want is the judiciary to be run according to law. Not for somebody to be brought here and told, please
advise us that when you become Chief Justice, you are not going to attack any of us. What kind of thinking is that? We don't accept that. And frankly speaking, some people should realize that they are living on our hospitality. You are not Gambians. And if this thing is going on and on and on, definitely, one fine day, you will be sure that you are not Gambians. It's not a threat, but it's a fact. We don't like people to be threatening us, as Justice Paul was doing. Not openly, not in a subtle manner. We are all human beings. There is a limit to our patience. I'm sorry, please, Chair.
No, that's well said. On the question of threats, there was a time, I think, it was visible to a lot of Gambians that some elements were rather threatening and holding certain silly assumptions as to the lack of bravery on the part of Gambians, etc. Well, I want to blow that here and now. Gambians are not cowards at all. We have been brought up to be gentle. But then once in a while we fell, as in the 1981 coup, when 500 people died, and the population was only 800,000. That was a huge proportion by any measure. So it's not a question of Gambian being cowardly. They've been brought up to be cautious, be polite, believe in a small society, unlike in other countries where you have millions. So the mores are different. The way of doing things are different. And that should never, ever be interpreted as cowardice or anything close to it. I will give an example from myself. Nobody knows me to be a boastful person. When the coup d'etat of Yahya Jammeh came about, I was president and I signed. You would be in a position to know because you are old enough. I signed condemning the coup, but that was within my conscience. When the president was the head of a military government, the AFPRC. He appeared in court. There were soldiers all over the place with guns. I stood and I cross-examined him. When the problem of Paul came about, all of you knew that I led the attack on Paul. It's not a question of cowardice. It's a question of politeness, courtesy. That's all. Nobody is cowardly. I certainly do not consider myself as a coward. So that should be blown. That should be taken completely out of the equation. When it comes to this question of xenophobia, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing, absolutely nothing xenophobic about me. When I was in UK studying, my best friends were Nigerians, West Indians. Even a few days ago, a prominent Nigerian there who was my mate traced me on the internet. And I said to them, kindly Ogunsoy, and so many others. They are there, the Alakijas, the former Chief Justice, his son, all of them were my good friends. And even here, I have friends that are Nigerian, another nationality. I mentioned Nigeria specifically only because we have Nigerian colleagues here, so that they wouldn't believe that we are xenophobic or against foreigners. So I'm glad you raised that, and I've been forced to state this in order to blow that silly idea of Gambians being cowards. We are not. Yes, continue.
I listen very carefully to the things made by Mr. educated than your own lawyers. By bringing Wowo here, I'm going to get an undertaking. We're not going to have things against us. We're in essence confirming that it's because of Wowo that's stopping us as a country. And that unless Wowo makes that undertaking, something else will happen. It's an information domain. But let's be analytical about this. And really, is that what we want? In fact, as Gambians also, it does not only give the issues also, it undermines the profession as a whole, the judicial, and the legal sector as a whole. That if you take one person, one individual, to do something, or to say something, or to have a personal problem with something, and the whole institution is brought into disrepute. So taking that line also is confirming that it was because of Wowo that something has happened. And in order to stop that, to bring Wowo here for him to make an undertaking. Now I'm being analytical about it now, as a lawyer. So if Wowo says I make an undertaking, then Wowo will give you the responsibility to do whatever it takes, according to him, including going to the president. In fact, even as lawyers, we can only speculate that it's because of the president. But we should not even admit and endorse that it's because of the president. Because that will also be undermining everything that we represent and understand. So this position, this proposal made by Chile, should be taken seriously. Because it has connotations and implications for all of us here. And it's also confirming certain things that we were not too sure about. So I think it's very important. And secondly, on the issue of xenophobia, like I said, I just mentioned that I was such a Wowo came. And Mr. Johnny has said somebody killed them. Wowo was in the same situation. Wowo is not, he don't come here and take a confrontation. He came here as a young man, knocking on people's door, persistently. And you to be employed. I was supposed to be alive. And if you were the Republic, you wouldn't have been here today. Not only knocking, getting people all over the country to be making appeals on his behalf. So, what's the problem now? What is the problem? I don't understand what the problem is really. Why are we being subjected to all sorts of funny things? Because this proposal really asks a lot of litigation for us.
Sorry, I just want to ask one question. Because I've heard the phrase xenophobia and xenophobic being repeated in several people's speeches. But since I've been here, I've not heard anybody make that allegation.
You didn't attend the thing at Caravan?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I'm talking of here now, since I've been here, since we've been discussing the issues, nobody has accused anybody here or Gambians of being xenophobic. So I don't know why speaker after speaker keep mentioning and insisting that allegations have been made of xenophobia and they need to insist that Gambians are not xenophobic. I don't think anybody said that here. So why do we keep answering questions here that have not been asked here? That's my only difficulty. I don't think Gambians are xenophobic. I will not be here if I think Gambians are xenophobic. Saluta knows very well, he's my closest friend in the bar. And that is also his position. So and none of us will ever say that. So why is it an issue that keeps coming up? That is just my kind of open question.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I can answer. I think it's part of our nature to also make everybody comfortable. Because we are all here when as lawyers. And we don't want any affairs that may be part of our concerning xenophobia. That's why I think, I said it not because you have said it or he has said it, but because given the fact that we keep on saying Nigeria here and there, I think it's only proper for us to set the record straight. These arguments are informed by xenophobia against any particular nationality. That's the only reason why I said it, but it's not because of anything else. So I think that's the context. Yes.
I think the issue has been well put. We are running out of time to do our best. If we have to approach the best possible.
Just that the side issue was brought about, and I consider it important. Sorry. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Janet, I take exception to the insinuation from Mrs. Njai, Salah Njai. And I found her such pronouncement as it concerns me. I don't want to be hypocritical here. Let's be factual. Somebody made a pronouncement to the effect that Justice Wowo wrote a letter to the NIA, and it was on the basis of that letter that Mrs. Besuda was arrested. Now, based on that, I say, why not we invite your Justice Wowo? So that if Justice Wowo happens to be the Chief Justice, I'm not appointing Justice Wowo. The bar is not appointing Justice Wowo. Let him give us an undertaking that this lady will be free. That nothing will happen to her. Look, Mr. Janet, as the Chief Justice, if he so wishes to do that, he can do it.
Then he should not be Chief Justice.
You don't understand me. I am not appointing him. You are not appointing him. This is why I say, let's not be hypocritical. And that was why I made reference to Moses' issue. We can be here shouting and shouting and shouting, pretending that we are supporting this person, we are supporting this person. The time hitting the head on the head, let's know what to do so that Mrs. Besuda will be free. Mrs. Besuda said, let me tell you, Mrs. Besuda said her name reflected in the charge sheet. In the charge sheet. And she said she can be arrested. You don't understand me. She said she doesn't care. I am speaking out of pure timidity with reference to her speech. And now Mrs. Salazar is saying, look, I'm pointing at you. I'm pointing at you. Mrs. Salazar is saying that this is what I meant. That so thing may happen to her. No, that is not what I meant. I'm saying I came up with protective measure with reference to the statements made by the previous speakers here.
Yes,
I just want to clarify. I personally, I suppose I came up as a but I'm not here because of so I'm not here because of a political party. If bringing Wowo here, it is irrelevant to me whether Wowo is representing or not. The issues on the table are the issues that I think are important. We do not need, as a family, Mr. Wowo's assurance, his protection, his access to the president. All those are issues which we do not need him. Whether or not he's a fit or proper person to sit on the bench has no connection to whether or not he can secure Mrs. Bensouda's liberty. She is a free woman in the Gambia and doesn't need any other person in the Gambia, including the president's assurance to stay here. So I don't think it's a relevant issue that we should discuss anymore. Let's focus on the issue.
All right, so we revert then to... Sorry, I didn't say, sorry. Carry on.
I just want to sound more I'm not a senior member of the bar, I'm just a very young member of this bar. But I think history is the law as far as this bar is concerned. We have never been acting in unison. This is why we're a bit worried about whatever action we want to take based on the situation we are about to be confronted with, or we are already confronted with. We can start using our words as well as appointed. But the fact of the matter is that I think a lot of us have got information that has been found, which is most likely to be so. So what action do we take? If we decide to challenge this appointment, we should be seen to honestly, not hypocritical way, to do it in unison, all of us together. Of course, we will have some dissenting opinion. This opinion is in respect to the boycott proposal. We have heard it before in the past. And some of us, even Gambians, decided to do it. Are we going to stick together, swim together, or sink together? This is a very important question we need to abide our minds to here and now when we take this mission. As far as I am concerned, my opinion as to appointment in the highest judicial office in the Gambia has been and will never change. But after almost 50 years of independence, it's a shame. It's a shame to have non-Gambians sit as Chief Justice, even in the past. It's a shame, but I am not the appointed authority, neither are we. We aren't. But if this is kind of way to really become exceptional, because the time is now to look inward. Gambians have handled this position before. Justice Lemon Shop has been doing well. Why don't we give it a chance? For me, it's a non-starter. It has ever been a non-starter at non-Gambian sector. I am not talking because of he comes from Nigeria. No. It doesn't matter where anybody comes from. Wherever you come from, as long as you're not Gambian, I don't think you should give you the higher position. Even if you're qualified, we are not really qualified. So when we decide to take that action today, please let's try to be united in order to actually decide.
That is well said, Mr. Governor. I don't think you were here, but you are echoing precisely what I said in your absence. And I called it the nationalist view. Any other? Yes?
All I wanted to do was to add another proposal to the table. And that is what the option of writing to himself to state that as a power we do not do the take qualification.
Right. Could you give a chance? Carry on. Speak up.
Okay. I wanted to put the option on the table of writing directly to Justice Wowo to say that as a bar we have no confidence in him as Chief Justice, and we do not believe any positions up to him that he should accept it, and if he does, he should not expect any support from the court. Just as a proposal to the table.
Yes. Can you speak?
Mr. President, you see, the issue of Justice Wowo was not like in the hands of the bar. Justice Janet and Justice Soft who have the role to play in this time. People who are close to them, family connection, friends, they should tell them to should resign. It's a national duty. It's not like now. We are very young people. We are people for 65 years, 64. What do they want? They should support us. Things like this should not happen in Sierra Leone. They should resign. They just sit down there, we are fighting, they are not doing anything. They should resign. If I was subject to that, I would resign. To be honest, we have German court of appeal judges there. They should do something. Resign. Well, that's the system. This country belongs to us, all of us. It doesn't belong to Yaya alone. Honestly, it's not. We strike, they should not support us. They should not support it because 100,000. At the end of the day, they do have a role to play. Some of who are related to them, let them decide. Let them come back to the bar. They are private lawyers. So some is going to work with Mr. Day. Yes. What are there?
So how do you propose we engage? Mayor?
That's why it's on the floor. It's not the bar alone to fight something like this.
Since I'm related to I want to say straight away that I will never advise anybody, not only my brother, anybody in the judiciary to resign. Why? Because I will never permit anybody to give me directions. I am a very mature person and I will take my own decisions. And I will allow other people to take their own decisions. So let me tell you straight away that I will never do it. Never. Not only to my brother, but to anyone else. They will have to take their own decisions.
I agree.
Yes?
I agree with, I understand your vision. I think you've been very clear from the beginning. But I think, I agree with the extent that we must find a way of engaging other sectors of the justice system. The subordinate come in many other ways and forms. And we cannot ask them to resign, but we can really engage them to see how best they can align themselves with our position. Each and everyone will be guided by what they think is the best call to take, and we will just go with them. I think we should really canvas support the Gambians, particularly the Gambian who on the bench, but this is about the rule of law. It's about the justice system as a whole. if the lawyers will have confidence in the justice system, then what kind of system do you have? How many do you think actually have confidence if we don't have confidence in this system? So I think it's normal that we engage all the stakeholders who are outside the bar. I don't know how we'll do it, but it has to be done. And we leave them decide how they will act or not act. At least we have given them a chance to be part of it.